Hello, this is wmpyr. For today's lesson, we're going to be working on an oldie but goodie. Alright, so the first thing we're going to be working on is the X strike. Very basic stuff, 1 and 2. It goes downwards and diagonal, diagonal. 1 and 2 right here. Imagine that your stick is a short sword, that it is a bladed weapon, and you're cutting here and you're cutting here. Keep this arm right here and go 1 and 2. 1 and 2. So one of the things that I recommend is to practice cutting very, very vertical and also very, very horizontal like this and in between. Okay, so as you're practicing cutting, make your X very vertical, very horizontal, and also in between. So you should be able to change the shape of the X, okay? That also means that you might go very, very vertical and then very, very horizontal on the next one. So there's all kinds of different combinations. Please practice that. Okay, so the next step is we're going to change the X into a figure 8. And the way to do that is to just basically continue the motion. So if you're going 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and you continue the motion like that, you're going to start to feel the momentum of how it's actually a huge figure 8 like so. Okay, instead of just going 1 and 2, which is an X. But if you continue the motion, you're creating a giant figure 8. So that's the first thing that I want you guys to experience. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, so the first thing is to just continue the motion like this and just feel the momentum, feel that it is a figure 8 motion. Right now, don't worry about how am I cutting, how am I hitting the opponent. Don't focus on that. The practical application is this is a flail. So you just want to do this really, really fast to someone's face and make it difficult for them to get in. Okay, so it's just a defensive move. It's a flail motion. All right, so once again, the focus is on speed and also on being smooth. And more important is smooth. Go smooth first and speed will come later. So right now, just focus on this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And as you get better, right now I'm using a whole lot of arm motion right here. 1, 2, 1, 2. So we're going to start making it more compact to where it's more in the wrist, like this. Okay, so once you start taking it to the wrist right here, you're going to notice that earlier for the X strike we went slash and slash. Remember, we imagined this was a blade, so we're actually cutting right here and then we're cutting right here. Okay, but now, since our focus is more on just being smooth, you're going to notice that instead of coming, this is a cut right here, this is our number 1, and then for number 2, instead of coming again this way, it's easier if you just turn the wrist like that. So we're still doing the same thing, 1 and 2. You see, I'm just turning the wrist and it takes me back for number 1, turn the wrist, 1, turn the wrist, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So the difference is instead of coming this way for number 2, I'm going this way. And it still takes me back to where I need to be. So if you do it that way, it becomes a lot smoother. So for the next part, please put the second lesson, the flail, aside for right now. And let's go back to number 1. So number 1 was strike, strike. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make it a 3-hit combo. So we're going to go 1, 2, and then 3 right there. Okay, so one more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so number 3 is our power shot. So I just want you guys to get in the habit of 1, 2, and number 3, just like that. 1, 2, shh. 1, 2, shh. So on number 3, just get in the habit. 1, 2, and see how I'm stepping in and I'm winding up a lot more. Instead of just going 1, 2, 1, 2, just continuing the motion like this, it's on number 3. Okay, so last but not least, we want to take what we just did, the 3-hit combo, and make it more advanced. By making it more advanced, we're keeping it the same structure, but essentially we're doing 2 hits instead of 3. But the motion is still 3 motions. Okay, so let me first show it to you. It's going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so those are 3 motions, but I'm actually only hitting twice. So let's do that again. Let's go a little slower. So it goes number 1, And then for number 2, we're going to go back to the figure 8 motion that we were doing that was more efficient, which is where you're turning the wrist like that. So number 1 is my first strike. Number 2, I'm turning the wrist, okay? And then you see how it brings my hand up right here? So that's a very nice number 3. Okay, so let's just focus on that right now. Number 1, turn the wrist, and that's my number 3. Number 1, turn the wrist, bam. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, turn the wrist, and then 3 is the power shot right there where you can actually step in or lean in to get some more power. Okay, so the last step is number 1 is your first attack. Number 2 is you're turning the wrist, but we're going to turn the wrist, go all the way to where your stick is now upside down. So in order for me to hit, I have to unwind the stick to hit, and that gives me more power. See, from here, I have to unwind the stick. So boom, just like that. So one more time. Normal cut, turn the wrist, and wind it all the way to where it's upside down, so it's nice and winded up, and my arm just wants to unwind and do that last strike. So that's what's giving me the extra power for number 3. So one more time. Number 1, turn the wrist, and that's number 3. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and take care, folks.